Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And on days like this, it's always two is better than one. So we're taking a look at these two. These are the Decepticon clones from the Target exclusive 2-pack. I guess it is part of the Cybertronian Villains subline, because this, much like the Seeker 2-pack, has that little extra tagline printing on it. I got this set off of eBay because trying to buy figures off of Target.com is, well, a bit of an issue. Now, if you remember, some years ago in Titan's Return, there were these very nice large box sets that were a little too pricey for what you were getting, but they did find a way to include the clones, or at least one of each. You see, unfortunately, depending on the rumor you believe, the box sets really didn't sell that well, and Hasbro pulled the last two, which means the final two members of the clone teams, in this case Wingspan, and on the Autobot side Cloudraker, were actually relegated to a Walgreens exclusive 2-pack. I was never able to get Pounce because people were charging way too much for what is a glorified Legends class figure, or Scout class figure, excuse me. Now, this set is actually a direct release of the Takara exclusive 2-pack. They didn't do fancy box sets where they split up the teams. They gave you two 2-packs of the Autobot clones and the Decepticon clones. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, like I said, I do not have Pounce, but I was able to get that Walgreens exclusive pack, so I do have the Wingspan to compare. So, enough of my mad ramblings. We'll pause and we'll come back and take a look at Wingspan. Okay, so here's Wingspan. On the left, this is the original Hasbro release, which was part of the Titan's Return line. As I mentioned previously, this was released as a Walgreens exclusive 2-pack, which in some areas you can still find that 2-pack on shelves. It really did not sell that well. But you can also see the difference in coloring. Basically, what we'll call the Takara version was based more on how they appeared in the animated cartoon. As you can see, there's a lot more of that seafoam green coloring, and the detail on the wings, while here is red, over here is like a neon electric metallic purple. But other than that, the heads are somewhat similar. Interesting to note that Takara and Hasbro, when doing these clone sets, basically what they did was both robots have the ability to transform either way. It's just that they then added the extraneous parts to make like Pounce, and Wingspan. Also, there is a lot of ball joints and swivel joints, which on figures of this size can be a little problematic to deal with. But other than that, let's get into the transformation. I'll just pull the Hasbro original release out. First thing you want to do is come in and fold up the wings. Next, what you can do is come back and fold back the head. For the tail fin can fold up if you need it to get out of the way. I don't think it's meant to be folded up. It wasn't folded up in packaging. At this point, if you so desire, you can rotate the robot head down so the face is facing towards the ground. Come in, unpeg the legs from the shoulders and straighten them out. On Wingspan, you will be using that extra hip joint to get the legs up and into position, and then you'll bring it down and flip up the tail. Make sure that whole section comes together. Now, as you can see, the hips are on ball joints where they have that swivel right underneath. So make sure when you're going into the vulture form that you're rotating here at the calf and not there at the proper hip joint. Speaking of which, go ahead and rotate the legs forward so that the feet are facing towards the figure. Go ahead and swivel out the arms. That will rotate back that little turquoise section that was the legs were pegged into, and then rotate the arms forward at the bicep, and there you have Wingspan in its robot mode. Now I'm going to quickly do the Hasbro version so we can bring it in and take a look and compare at the differences here. Again, you know, they're basically, I mean, the clones were basically the same figures, and we'll do a comparison between Pounce and Wingspan. The big difference is, of course, that the extra kibble that's on for the various beast modes. Now, as you can see on the what was the Takara release is now the second Hasbro release, you have much more paint on the face. You have silver, where this is just a plain white. The way they do the clone insignias to tell you which one is which. This is, I think, supposed to be a rub symbol or like a faux rub symbol. This is just the proper sticker. Decepticon symbol on the crotch is the same. And basically, the coloring is the same. It's just that different parts are colored. I mean, it's the same shade of turquoise and what have you. So, yes. Now, keep in mind, I had just opened up Wingspan shortly before the Walgreens Wingspan before this review, and I found I had to fiddle with it a bit more than this Hasbro release of the Takara edition. So, you know, your mileage might vary and all that jazz. But we'll pause and we'll take a look at Pounce. Okay, so here's Pounce. As I mentioned in the beginning, I don't have the original Titans Return version of Pounce from the Hasbro release. It was just too much money on the secondary market for a glorified Legends Scout class figure. You know, no weapons, nothing like that. I really think it was a bit of a fumble on Hasbro's part to put new molding, new tooling, partial new tooling in box sets like that, but whatever. So it is like a little bit of a panther. So just get into transformation. We'll flip that tail up like so, flip the head back. You'll come in and then rotate the legs back, which will rotate the arms back out to the side. Go ahead and fold them up along the back, just like so. So that's basically done. You'll, this point, if you want, go ahead and rotate the robot head around. I did find that rotating the heads on the newer figures was a little bit tighter than on the originals. Bring the legs down. Make sure to flip up the panther, or I guess, yeah, panther rear paws, and then rotate the legs around so the feet are facing the proper direction. Again, make sure you're rotating from the calf, not from the hip, and then rotate the arms forward so the elbows are bending and the hands are facing in the proper direction. So coming in, here's the Wingspan from the set, and as you can see, if you put them in a basic neutral pose and ignore the extra kibble on the legs down there, even though there is some molding here to kind of match, they do look similar. I know the original ones were, pulled this off a little bit better, but it is what it is. And there you have their little decals that reveal this is Pounce, this is Wingspan, this one flies, this one's on the ground. But other than that, they are pretty much the same mold. Again, it's the same basic mold. I mean, Pounce has that separating hip joint if you so desire. But they do have the extra kibble. As I've been mentioning, you basically have ball joints in the shoulders, ball joints in the elbows, ball joints in the hips, and this hinge at the knee. Swivel, and the swivels. And unfortunately, as I said, using ball joints and swivels at figures of this size really ends up being more of a problem than it's worth, just because it becomes very fiddly and hard to transform. So we'll pause, and we'll be back with my final thoughts. A little bit of a silly pose for you, but I think the clones are fine. I obviously enjoyed them a lot more when I was younger. I got both sets as like a Christmas or a birthday present one year. I think it was Christmas. And, they came with weapons. And I think that's very lacking that Hasbro could not include replicas of the weapons for them, because I think they would have really filled out their animal modes a bit. Some really nice like sword guns and stuff like that. But if you were lucky and have the Titan Return sets, and where you already have Pounce, and then the Walgreens set where you got Wingspan, I really don't think you need to get this set, because frankly, all you're getting is the same figure but just with different paint. If you have the Autobot set, it's the same thing. You would have one Autobot from the box set and another one from the Walgreens set. I'm pretty sure they're going to come out with a Takara, a release of the Autobot clones down the line in Earthrise, or maybe in the next series that comes after. But again, if you already have those previous versions, all you're getting is different paint details. Now, if you missed out on one or the other, then definitely pick up this set, because I think it's much cheaper to go for this set than to try and get the other figure off of the secondary market, because basically people are now, at the time and more so now, are charging markups and premiums, since it is a relatively, well, technically discontinued item. You know how the collector's market works. But yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more to say. My only issues were the using ball joints and swivels, but you've heard me go on about that for years. This is your old pal Chuck for Wingspan and Pounce. We will see you next time.